Well, hi, Mike Jeffrey, Chief Building Official. Thanks for coming. And I don't know if any of you folks took you look familiar from our seismic class, took the previous Building Permits 101, but a lot has changed in a year, especially for commercial, actually across the board, residential, commercial work, and I'll break it down, but speeding up time frames, I know that's always a concern, especially in the commercial environment. But we've fixed that quite a bit too, and it's always a work in progress, so it'll only get better. Again, my name is Mike Jeffrey, and my sole purpose is take the fear out of permit applications and also take the questions about it out. This is a very wordy PowerPoint, so that's why we printed up and gave you. I wanted you to know that, kind of behind the scenes what it takes to develop codes. But if I were to get into, if I read that completely, you guys would be asleep. So take it to bed tonight if you have trouble sleeping, and you'll be just fine. I will breeze through this first part, but what I found is the most important part for this presentation is the improvements that we made to permit application, how we handle it digitally. So we'll get down to that, and also questions and answers. I know from the last time we went kind of long, so I am going to really sound like I'm on coffee for the first few, and then try to kind of speed through it, slow down a couple spots, and then leave some good time for questions and answers. This is, so I got to hit that. This is what our fine communications team put together. Hello, I am Michael Jeffrey, Chief Building Official for the City of San Leandro. I want to update you on our exciting improvements to enhance the permitting process. We now accept digital submittals, where from the comfort of your own home or office, you can apply for permits, upload your plans, and pay your fees. Go to the city website to learn more about the services we offer. You may also contact permit staff at permitsbyemail@sanleandro.org. You can also make an appointment or walk in. Appointments will be given preference though. The planning, housing, and engineering departments are also available at the permit counter. So before you could build this, remodel that, or replace this, you have to go through here. Thank you. All right, where do I start? If I don't know, then we're really screwed. Business owners, homeowners, contractors, developers, design professionals, I should put on there. But we realize that a lot of these projects, small or big, bathroom remodel to that in the background is going to be a 197 unit mixed use complex. Every single project is important to you, big or small. And we know that, and we appreciate that, and we're here to help you. In these slides, we're going to cover how codes are developed, why permits are required, and what type of work is exempt from permits, and why your project will be value added with a permit at the end of the day. And then the process for obtaining a permit. Kind of touched on it in the video, but we'll drill down a little bit more as we proceed here. This is where it gets, like, if I turn around, you guys are sleeping, I will not blame you, but what I wanted to do was just kind of emphasize on where these codes come from and how they get refined as they trickle down through region to California. They're international codes, which are called the model codes, and all the disciplines are broke out into 24 sections. But, obviously what could be a valid code in Florida, wouldn't be in California. And then it might need to get further refined locally, regionally, in cities like City of San Leandro. We have faults, we have liquefaction, we have about everything you can imagine here. So it is a little bit more difficult. That's one thing that drives duration of permits, is we are in a high seismic activity zone, liquefaction, we have some wind forces that are involved. About everything that could be thrown at you, or a contractor or a design professional is here, and it's a lot harder to get through a permit application here than let's just use Livermore, for example. No faults in the way, better soil conditions, flatter land, You know, we don't have mudslide areas. So it's, you know, it's just a lot easier to get permits in other places that aren't pretty much in the Bay Rim over here. We're very similar to Oakland, Hayward, Alameda. Alameda's, you know, very subject to liquefaction. So that takes stricter building codes. So they get further refined as they get to us here in San Leandro. We can, you know, manipulate the code a bit and adopt certain things, but it always has to be more restrictive. We can't ease up a code. We have, you know, in the fire codes, we've made those a little more restrictive. In structural codes based on liquefaction, we've made those a little more restrictive. But overall, we're pretty darn close to the California building, mechanical, electrical, plumbing permits, or codes. We're in a code cycle. Typically, there are 3-year code cycles. We're in the second year of the 2022 code cycle already, which means we'll be starting to review codes for the 24 code. But these are the ones that we base all of our scrutiny on, our reviews and so on, and it's the 2022 codes right now. But these are based on, we talked about model codes, like for example, let's just use our electrical code. That's based on the National Electric Code 2020. So it's based on this, further refined for California, and we have some in the Muni Code, some electrical codes that we've made a little more restrictive. And then that's how these codes evolve from one model code, and then they're modified from state to region to local municipality. And then reference standards. If we're adopting a code, everything that's referenced in that code book is adopted. So if you can imagine, if we put this UL listing is Underwriters Laboratory, there's thousands and thousands of these numbers. So we use we reference Underwriters Laboratory instead of putting it in the code book, because it would be, you know, thicker than the 5 inches it is now for the you know, building code. I'm using a mechanical code here, which is only 3 inches thick. But so the reference standards are always, when they're adopted as a whole, and everything we reference, which is a whole other library, we have access to, and we can enforce it. By referencing these standards, they become code. And code is law, so we have to abide by it as an enforcement jurisdiction. So a lot of people don't understand that code is law, and that creates other types of issues too as far as enforcement goes, which we also do. And then the Title 24 Building Standards Code is adopted by the state architect. So this goes on, I'm just gonna let you guys review this, but it's just to give you an idea of where these codes come from. It's not like 4 guys, you know, at a bar talking and, you know, developing code. It's taken so seriously. Manufacturers, listing organizations such as Underwriters Laboratory, code professionals, contractors, there's consortiums, there's meetings, there's fights, and, you know, it kind of gets parliamentary, and then a code comes out of it. And we have to take it. If it's adopted, we have to take it for better, for worse, or for worse. So usually, and it's all fire safety related. So when the next time somebody thinks, well, that's a stupid code, there's a lot of thought, a lot of process, and several years to get to that code. So what's behind it, that's why I wanted to put all this wordy stuff in here, just so you can understand what is, you know, what goes on, you know, behind code making. The other thing is why we have triennial codes about every 3 years, not about every 3 years, is to keep up with technology. We're dealing with lithium-ion batteries, and they change, they exponentially. We have to keep up with that. And if we don't know how to enforce it, plan check it, inspect it, and get it approved. Photovoltaic, solar. Now it's battery storage, ESSs. So it's a constant, and we have mid-cycle reviews, so we can stay up on it and stay current and stay pertinent, and know how to plan check and then enforce the code via inspection. But it does take a lot. You see it's broke out in mechanical, plumbing, energy code, even a historical building code, the fire, existing building code. which we refer to quite a bit because most of our buildings are existing, so we have to refer to it. Even if you're putting an addition on, we have to see how it, we have to pull some code out of the existing building code to make current building code work. Green standards, reference standard code. Oh, just a photo. That's one of our recent jobs. It's affordable housing called Laurel Landing. How many units is that, Carrie? Laurel Landing or Kim? 65? Okay, I should have put that in there. So that building, we C of O'd about a year and a half ago or so. Why permits are required? It's the law and to protect us in the built environment. My job is to keep you all safe from the built environment and sometimes from yourselves. It's our job. If you don't know something, we're glad to sit at the counter and educate you. You know, I mean, we have that 4-night seismic, which I'm going to actually promote later, cheap plug. We bend over backwards to educate folks so they perhaps don't want to do that electrical service change. 61 units, that last photo. And that's how we, or I as a building department, keep us from, you know, possible electrocution or flooding the house. I am supposed to, if somebody wants to, you residential folks want to pull a permit, owner, builder, if you sign that box that you're doing as owner, builder, you put a lot of liability on yourselves. And by law, I have to grant you that permit, but I also do have latitude if I talk with you at the counter and we're talking about, you know, electrical and you guys just, don't get it, I can actually refuse that permit and have you, get a contractor and come in and pull the permit. And that's, safety related. Plumbing, you can flood your house, but really it's not going to kill you. Electrical will. So sorry for that scare, but I do have that ability, and I have used it as far as some folks. If you hire somebody that's not licensed, that's a whole other subject. There is work that types of projects that are exempt, and there's not too many. Examples: retaining wall less than 4 feet high from the bottom of the footing, so that's not a very high retaining wall. The rest have to be engineered. Little swimming pools less than 24. Play structures. Don't know why you don't need a permit for an oil derrick, but if you guys plan on building one, we're going to have a permit. But I don't know why, and it's true. Oil derricks is that. Oh, that's a water tank? Yeah. A lot of rural areas, fire department might have you add that for firefighting. We're not going to do that here, but less than 5,000 gallons, it doesn't require a permit. That's just landscape. And then, of course, a play structure. There are other things that are exempt, and I also listed those, but that's a long list, too. There's 12 basic ones, but then it drills down to electrical, what you can do. And as you can see, just a couple examples, not much you can do without a permit. Pretty much screwing a light bulb, replacing the outlet itself, that's about it. And same thing with mechanical. Again, you might think a water heater is pretty benign, but there's about 5 different things on there that could actually, blow up your house, create great bodily harm. Ventilation. It's a fossil fuel burning, so there's that chance of explosion. There's pressure relief valves, so there's a lot to it that we would like to look at. We do know that a lot of plumbing companies will say, oh, it doesn't need a permit, but it actually does, just so you know.
Low voltage.
Excuse me?
Low voltage.
Low voltage water heater?
No landscape lighting.
Low voltage, no, but interestingly enough, what you have to plug it into, like let's say you're going to put a new outside receptacle for it. We would like to look at that, make sure it's ground fault protected, waterproof enclosure, right wire sizing, everything. But as far as the low voltage, no. That's good. Does that even say that? There are things obviously that aren't covered, and it puts the onus on. A
small shed that says under 120 square
Yeah.
feet, but then it says planning division approval is required for location. What does that mean?
Well, always a good rule of thumb is always check with planning. And as you come to the building counter, we have planner of the day. Planning's going to do one of these too. I encourage you to attend it, but kind of the rule of thumb is 120 square feet, under 8 feet, no electrical. You really don't need planning or anything. You could put it on in the back 25 feet of your lot, you could put it virtually right up to the property line. Where it becomes a thing where you get bigger than that, you got to pull it off the property line. As soon as you exceed the 120 or 8 feet, then you need planning approval as to where to set it.
No part of the roof can be higher than 8 feet?
I think it might be mean height, but that's a good planning question. Okay. Or average height. So if you have a pitch, you take the average of it. That's gone back and forth, so we'd have to get with planning on that. But that's a good question, and I should know that. Sorry.
And if we can hold our questions to the end.
Yes, right. That's right.
He was going to get.
I get long-winded.
Get into the details with you at length.
Yeah, and we'll have plenty of time at the end because that seems to be kind of the most favorite part of this. And then this goes on, about more things that are exempt from permits. And then there's also, I don't have it in here, emergency repairs. There's a code chapter that lets any licensed contractor do your repair. Let's say it's a Friday night, and you have an electrical issue, sewer issue, plumbing, whatever. They can actually repair that, and then the next business day come in and get a permit. So a lot of service contractors don't know that, and they'll make a customer wait. I'll have irate customers come in on Monday and say, "What the heck?" But there's actually protection for them in the code. I think it's 1055 that states that they could do that. Doesn't matter what it is. So if you need that repair, you can tell them, well, our CBO says, 1055, you can actually fix this now. If somebody says, another thing really quickly is, if a contractor said you don't need a permit, you should check, look at your paperwork, what is exempt. And if he says that, that's kind of a red flag to start with right there. And then, so generally this you can go on the website and you can actually fill this PDF out. And this is for when you want to make an appointment and actually come in. But we're also going to talk about our new and improved system, but this is also improved too. You're able to fill it out online, and then that's where when you have your appointment, you're prepared. You can also go digital, which we'll talk about in a minute, but we highly encourage, if you want to come in, please come in, especially residential customers. We're very helpful, and sometimes, submitting digitally, especially if you're doing it yourself, it gets a little bit confusing, not the actual digital part, but it's nice to talk to a human and get it kind of scored out. We're very helpful at the counter. So just because we went digital doesn't mean we're disappearing. It did help with volume of foot traffic at City Hall for us. It helped with our carbon footprint because a lot of folks aren't driving back and forth. They're doing everything from the comfort of their home. But if you need to come in and inquire, please come in. We do take walk-ins. But we also encourage using Acuity to set up an appointment. Even if you're not submitting, just come on in. We're not going away from that. If you're going to submit some plans, we'll still take those in physically. We're trying to get paperless, but we'll never be 100%. I just know that, and we're encouraging it. But if you're bringing plans in, by all means, bring them in. We're not gonna send you away. And then, permits vary. I mean, we also have, when you go under our landing page, there is a fee schedule down below. You can get close. It's a little complicated, but you can kind of see where all these little fees go to. It's like when you buy a gallon of gas, all the different entities that it goes to. So our little square is not the whole picture. So here's an example. Now, if you went online to our, and we have a screenshot of it, I think pretty close. This is what you'll do. You'll register on here. You'll be able to submit your plans, pay your fee. Now, if you pay your fee online, it's a 2.5% credit card fee that the bank charges us that we have to pay them. But I tell you, being able to sit in your own house and do it is great. All communication will go through here, email. It'll get assigned to a permit tech or clerk. And what I'm trying to do in the next year or so is kind of evolve, kind of old school again, is we're really making an effort to train up our permit tech staff so that they're going to be looking and plan checking a lot of the smaller jobs, small additions. That way, we'll be handling it quicker that way, and a little more customized service. I mean, that's how it was. I was a general contractor here in San Leandro for 25 years, and it was, you got one person, it was one-on-one, and most likely that tech was your plan checker, depending on the size of the job. So we're kind of reverting back to that. We're also approved to get a plan check engineer, so a lot of the projects that require structural engineer will be able to review on site. But this took us 10 months to develop. We rolled it out April 3rd of last year, so we're coming up already on a year, and it's had a dramatic effect. One place is the communication. We are also central dispatch. We get that submittal, and we look at it, review it. If we have to send it to planning, engineering, transportation, let's say environmental, maybe the fire department, it all comes right out of here and to them. And then you put yourself as the primary, and then as soon as it gets sent out, you get pinged, it tells you where it's at. And you can look on here to see where it's at in the process. And that's typically, for most jobs, within the same day or the next day. It used to take, because it would come into a physical queue, and it used to take anywhere from 10 to 12 days just to get it out. So we've already saved, that's business days, we've already saved basically 2 weeks of just sitting there, because we have to be fair, there's a queue. We're not going to pluck out of the back of the queue, we can't, because it creates all kinds of issues. So now that queue has been minimized simply because we go on there, we look at it, we analyze where it's got to go, and it's gone. They have it in their queue quicker, the quicker they can look at it. So this has been very successful, and we're still fine-tuning. There's some things we want to add to it. We have a little wish list that we're working on, and we'll get there. We'll never be there because it's a continuum. Things change. We're working on, for anybody that's in the photovoltaic business, we're working on a new app called the Solar app, which is reviewed by smart technology instantly right on the computer. So you'll be able to submit it, and it's in and out. It's like an over-the-counter permit. So we had some grant money that we applied for and received, and we're really close to implementing that right through here. So it'll talk to this, it'll get reviewed, permit tech will look at it, review, kind of oversee it, shoot the permit right back to the customer. So that should roll out in the next 2 months. So that's what I mean. It's always constant improving. We do so many solar voltaics. There's also other things we can plug into that, which is service panel upgrades, because a lot of times with a photovoltaic solar, it requires an upgrade. So that could be plan checked on the same thing. EV chargers, that's another module that's going to get plugged into it. So we'll be able to take care of 3 or 4 items with this new technology through Solar app. That's exciting too. I didn't put anything on there because it's not implemented yet, but we're very close. Why your project will be value added with a permit. A lot of you folks know this. Your home, it could be one of your biggest investments. Typically it is. And you have to treat it as such. If it doesn't comply with city codes, the value of your investment could be reduced. And let's just say the brother-in-law you don't like trips and falls because something isn't the code, he could sue you, or sister-in-law, anybody. And also, you may not get insurance coverage. You might have coverage, but when, like, let's say you have a fire in that non-permitted addition, nobody's in the insurance business, right? Who is? They're kind of looking for a way to get out of coverage. Nobody? Okay, good. So if it's not permitted, that could be a way for them. Selling the property, it's a lot easier when everything is permitted. And I just bought a home about 4 months ago, and there was an issue up there, and it stopped escrow. And what's happening is the appraisers and lenders are really looking, and I have appraisers and lenders call all the time to check on and it stops your escrow, which, as you know, if there's an end date, everything is geared to that, and that's very stressful we got to clear it up, but that can create issues there. That could also create issues where the buyer is, well, you know, we can assume that as long as the lender will lend, but you're going to have to take, you know, $40,000 off your asking price or something like that. That happens too. But that enforcement case that we would start, because now we know it's not permitted, we would start the enforcement case. That travels with the land, travels with the house, no matter who the owner is. So a new buyer typically doesn't want to do that. So it's a lot cleaner sale if you're all up to date. Definitely it's the law. We talked about that. And then I also talked about if a contractor, and we cover this in our seismic class, you know, on the third, you know, when they start saying you don't need a permit, instant red flag. If they're not licensed, that's another one. If they don't show you their insurance, you know, that's a whole other red flag. But, you know, if they just blatantly, and I get this all the time. I was talking with a resident yesterday, and 3 roofers told her that she does not need a permit for a new roof, which is ridiculous. I didn't even ask for the names. I'm hoping it's nobody we know, but yeah, that's not a good way to do business. Very short-term thinking. That's one of the office buildings over by BART. There's 2 matching buildings now over there, fully occupied. One of these floors is on this particular building. We just looked at this not too long ago. I think is Ghirardelli, and the bottom 4 floors are Ariat, the country sportswear. So there's all their offices there, design, photography, all that is there, and it's 4 full floors. They have about 80,000 square feet. So we really do have a vital commercial base to the city of San Leandro. Just a random photo, I guess. That's not me, kind of looks like me. But now this is our landing page. So when you go on to, you know, government departments, community development, building and safety, this you can navigate everything. You can, in here, if you wanted to kind of get an idea, you know, what it's going to cost you for building permits. Here's building code enforcement, which it's under my purview also. Codes, earthquake retrofit program, you know, I'll plug that a little bit. Floodplain management. So the building department does a lot more than just inspecting and making people's lives miserable. I'm a floodplain administrator. So if your home is in the floodplain, you know, there's certain building techniques and, you know, flow ventilation underneath. If you're in the flood zone and if your job is deemed a substantial improvement, we do all that too. We also participate in CRS, Community Rating System, through the insurance offices through FEMA, which is a point system, and it's based on our participation in what we actually do for outreach, handouts, plans examination, determining if it's in the flood, promoting, you know, and we do have a lot of floodplain areas. You're close. You might even be in one. And we also take inquiries when they ask, hey, is my home in the flood hazard area? And so I have to keep a log of that. So we get points. We rank really well. We're picking up a point this year. I just went through it. Every point, so we'll be a 3 at that point. Every point results in about 5% savings on your insurance. And so we're proud of the fact that for the almost 20 years I've been here, is that we've been maintaining about a 10% you know, discount, and we should be able to get a little more for commercial and residential. So that's really important. The other important thing about keeping insurances low, if you have a good building department, strong building department, there's another thing called BSEGS, Building Code Enforcement Grading Schedule. And that's intensive. We just finished it. We do it about every 3 years. And it ranks your building department, it rates your building department every which way. How many permits you do, how many inspectors you have, how many resource professionals do you have, both here and in consultants, and background, certifications, education, the whole thing, and they come up with a numbering system. Well, we did pick up a point on that too. that helps with everybody's insurance, because the theory there is if you have a good building department, good inspectors, good plan checkers, good permit staff, at the end of the day, it'll be a good product, a good safe product, meaning whatever we build. I mean, you can see that, you know, most of you know that project, just right 2 blocks from here, 1188. It's a $60 million mixed use, and that took 5 years to get off the ground because, you know, first of all, for entitlements, and second of all, plans examination, which is really in depth. Again, we were talking about where we live, why it's so in depth, and why it takes so much time. But based on that, that building theoretically is safer than if it were built, I'm not going to offend anybody by saying another state or anything, but you can rest assured that here, at least in San Leandro, that they are super safe, super scrutinized, and we're already at 100 and something inspections, and the place is not even, you know, 30% done over on that particular job. So we're proud of that. We're proud of the fact that our professionalism and expertise and background is benefiting you in your insurances. So that's you know, some of the other things that we also do. This will tell you about solar permitting, and then here's your fee schedule, and then here's where you can do your scheduling for an in-person counter appointment. And again, you can walk in, but appointments will be given preference. But I got to tell you, the volume of folks has dropped quite a bit. So our goal is to help anybody that walks in that door. And then you could drill down more. There's actually, you know, if your electrician says, I don't have a calc form for electrical load, you can send them right here. Oh, but there's one at the city website you can grab and fill out. So there's all kinds of different forms, submittal guidelines, which is helpful. When we're dealing with ADUs, for example, we have submittal requirements, and you'll see on it, it'll recommend getting with a planner first. And it really depends on a lot of the basic ones under, don't quote me, but I want to say under 750 square feet might not have to go through planning, but you're going to learn that in the other workshop, which is great. That speeds things up. And so if you don't have it here, email, permits by email. I think we left a stack of cards on the back for reference. And then if you can't get a hold of us, you email directly. If you email me directly. And then I have some FAQs. I'll kind of breeze over them because I know you're going to have your own questions. How are we doing on time, Des?
3:40.
Oh, 20 minutes. Okay. All right, so I'll let you guys read these. These do answer some questions, and then we'll get to some of your own questions. The one thing I wanted to, let me just forward here, is how long does it take to get a permit? Because this, I know a lot of folks are gonna, because of going digital, that beginning queue time is not even on here. So that 10 to 12 days just scrunched it up by a couple of weeks. And then 10 business days, first round, and then 5 business days, second round. What that means is we get the plans in, we examine them, we make comments. We send them right back digitally, right to whoever the primary contact is. And when the key right there is, let's say you have an architect, whether it's residential, commercial, you press on them to, hey, I know your comments in, because you could actually be assigned yourself as a contact. So you'll know when those comments get to the parties, and then you call them up and say, hey, I know, you know, the comments, can we really work hard on getting those back to us? Because we really don't like to go a 3rd round and a 4th round, and we do quite a bit. So what comes out of that is another tip would be, you know, hire a professional. If you're doing a restaurant, hire somebody that specializes in restaurants. They know what they're doing. They know they have to go to the county health. That's a whole separate. Or if you're doing an ADU, there's a lot of folks that just specialize now in ADUs. Tenant improvements are a different animal. So, you know, find somebody, a professional, and it will really cut the time off of here. But one of the keys is reach out to whoever's taking care of those comments and say, hey, I know you have them. You only got 5 or 6 of them. Can you get that thing turned around? The sooner you get that back to us, then the sooner we can get approval. That is one of the biggest things. When I get a call and say, hey, it took 6 months to get my permit. Well, I just go on the computer, I look at the workflow, and then I see, oh gosh, okay, it was with Joe's Architecture, and it was with them for 20 days. That 20 days is not on, is not us, it's the other, so a lot of the times it's that. Sometimes things get, a little hicked up in the system, but for the most part now, especially with our new system, this is the biggest driver. I could tell you, but our permit center coordinator would get mad at me, but it's usually quicker than that also these days. And we are busy. So the new system is tried and true. Even if we're busy, it still works. Okay, we kind of talked about that. Visit the planning department in person or on the web. You can communicate with them virtually also. We talked about this, select a licensed professional. And that is very key. If they're well-versed in whatever your project is, it will definitely cut down issues. Another thing that really is good to know, and I think Waste Management is we encourage pre-application meetings for our larger commercial jobs, and we also encourage during the job one POC, one point of contact, instead of like 3 or 4 people emailing you kind of the same question with little different angles. That cleans things up too, clear communication. And then, we talked about, scope and specification clearly defined. Emphasize on the turnaround time. That is talking to whoever's responding to comments and saying, hey, can you get those turned around quickly? Folks get busy. I mean, contractors get busy, architects, engineers, they get busy. And a lot of times they'll think if, good thing there's none of them here, because if they don't hear from you, I'm cool. I can kind of put this one to the back of the line and take care of maybe a bigger customer or a repeat customer. But if you call them or email them, they'll know that you're on it, and they'll respond. And then again, you can go to sanager.org and navigate onto our building landing page, and it'll take you anywhere you need to go. And then, so complex, we talked about why it's so complex, especially here on this Bay region, with our fault lines, adjacent to, and our liquefaction and mudslide tendency areas. We even have high fire areas up in the Bay Vista area. So we have pretty much everything here. The professional we talked about. And then again, encourage, get with us. If you have a question, come on down, email, and that permits by email is the best way to communicate, because permit staff will get it, and if it needs to go to me, they'll send it to me. Whoever it needs to go to, if they can't answer it themselves, they will immediately send it. And that we need to get to and respond within 24 hours. Again, sometimes that probably doesn't happen because of the volume, but we try to accommodate that and respond within 24 hours. The whole permit fees, you'll see it kind of on the permit schedule, or on the schedule, but you can go to that landing page and kind of see why. But there's a lot of, we're the clearinghouse, we send it off, but we also collect the fees for planning, we collect it for engineering, transportation, we collect for fire, and it's all on there. So we're the ones that kind of administer all that too, so we're the lucky ones, I guess, on that. But oh yeah, so bonus, cheap plug, and then we'll get on to some questions. I know we're kind of running a little, but I don't know if you saw, but that grant program from Brace and Bolt, Earthquake Brace and Bolt, which is sponsored through the California Earthquake Authority, is open. It closes in February sometime. Is anybody familiar with that? You are, huh? Did you use it?
Yeah, I did use it. It was great.
Yeah. So it's up to $3,000 to retrofit your own home. And so if you do it yourself, it usually pays for it all. Did you do it yourself? Yeah. So, or you can contract it. You could use that money, all of it, for a contractor, or you can do it yourself and get it all paid for, but it's up to $3,000. They've taken, I talked to the guy that runs this yesterday, And they've already taken I want to say 1,000 plus applicants, but it's not first come, first served. It's a lottery basis. So if you're thinking about retrofitting your house or having somebody retrofit, it's $3,000 free dollars. And a whole, not a lot of things tied to it. You need to get a permit, you need to get it signed off, send photos, and that's pretty much it. A little more than that, but you can go on to Brace and Bolt. I also have that flyer over there, and I also have the dates of our next class, the flyer over there too. Our class is 4 nights, spread out over 2 weeks. So it's a Tuesday, Thursday, about 3 hours a night, and it shows you how to, we give you homework to go measure your house, bring back the measurements, how to put it on this preset set of plans that we have called prescriptive plans, and get it ready, permit ready. And this is not just for San Leandro residents, this is for the whole Bay region. This Plan Set A that a predecessor of mine developed with a bunch of engineers is recognized throughout the whole Bay Area. So it makes it really easy. And then on the last night, we have tool night. We also have if you get a permit here to retrofit your own home, we have a tool lending library that's fully stocked for everything related to retrofitting, and it's free to rent out. So that's a really good thing. And they're all, we just received some money, and I bought, it was fun. Bought a lot of tools, which is always fun. And so we have brand new tools, brand new compressors, air guns, everything that you're more than welcome to check out. Then you could check those tools out for life if you had a final permit and you're a resident. This is for residents, San Leandro. But if you want to take the class, that's open to anybody. Okay, and that's me. And then there's the permits by email. So you have everything on your printout. If you can't get a hold of us, then it must be a holiday, because we're very accessible. So anybody have any questions? Or yeah.
Why is the earthquake program only for raised foundation houses? Because I have a slab house and it actually got damaged during the earthquake.
Yeah, typically a slab home. So this is designed, this particular plan set is designed for crawl space areas, cripple walls, which are typically the weakest. Your house would require some structural engineering. Slab home, now you're making your existing perimeter walls shear walls, and then it's got to connect to your slab. Basically, it's tall cripple walls, it's full height cripple walls, but that usually requires engineering. So what we did on this prescriptive method is made a table that's already engineered out. So it'll have different square footages, whether it's a heavy house, stucco, tile roof, or just wood house, a couple other elements, and then it tells us how many how many anchor bolts, how much plywood. So unfortunately, it doesn't do slab homes. It'll do a split level home where you have raised floor area, and then you have a slab area in the back, but we're only retrofitting that raised area, which is prone to kneeling over in an earthquake. But
on that earthquake brace and bolt, does it cover new construction too, or it's just retrofits?
It's just retrofits, and it's typically older homes, because new homes, especially late 70s and newer, are already built to a different standard, and more so as the years progressed. So usually it's homes older than 70s.
You mentioned floodplains. Do you know if there are any codes that address our particular risk living in San Leandro in the event of an earthquake, that the dams, the 3 dams upstream might flood certain areas of the city? Are there any codes related to that?
I've always wondered. They retrofitted it recently, did a major retrofit, but I live kind of in the in the line of that. But do you remember in the class the statistics I had on there, and the different colors of